It's me, your boyfriend and girlfriend and they friend's favorite content creator. Don't listen to anyone who tells you differently. We're gonna talk about Warhammer. We're gonna talk about Warhammer because that's all my timeline's talking about. Warhammer 40k. Now, to preface this, I myself am not a Warhammer person. In fact, I've only played like Vermintide, and I was thinking of playing one of the Warhammer games, but decided not to because I was like, I don't know where to start. But I do like lore, so that's always my thing. I like to read lore of things that I have no interest in actually playing. See Magic the Gathering. Anyways, speaking of lore, I guess there's been a drastic change to the lore of Warhammer 40k, which is that they are now female Custodes. Female Custodes, and people are mad. Not a lot, but a loud enough portion of people are mad about this. And again, as someone who's on the outside looking in, what are you mad about? Because from what I could gather during my research and from what other hardcore fans are saying, the lore's never been consistent. Like, it's intentionally vague. It isn't some rigid, dogmatic scripture that must be followed to a T. It's been left vague on purpose. And that's been cited by multiple fans, including some people who work for Games Workshop, which is the brand that owns Warhammer. So if they're saying that, why is there this big issue? Because it's woke. Don't you get it? This is all for woke points. They want to get woke. Games Workshop realized they get that sweet DEI, ESG woke point of money if they, change something in the lore, which they've never ever done before in the past. They've never changed lore. They've been super consistent. And I'm just like, this doesn't change anything though, right? Like, there are some people who are saying they're just mad about how it happened. Honestly, I don't believe them. No one's ever mad about how things happen. When it comes to nerd shit like this, they're always mad that it happened. There was a change they didn't like. And surprise, surprise, one of the people upset about this is Grums. Mark Kern. I was waiting for you to make an appearance again. I thought you were too busy getting community managers fired or working on Firefall or Ember or whatever it is that you do. But he's one of the leading voices talking about how they did this to get woke points and how they're going to lose out on this, yada yada, same shit he talks about for everything. Everything for him is the most important thing in the world, but also please subscribe to my newsletter so I can get more money. Not a joke. He actually asked people, if you like my thread on why Warhammer's gone woke or whatever, please subscribe. That's a weird thing to say. Could you imagine putting out content and then just asking people to subscribe, by the way, to this? I was doing a bit, but I bled into this. Subscribe to my channel right now. Do it. You'll not regret. And you don't have to pay for anything. I'm not going to promise you a game that's never going to come out. But going back to what I was talking about, he has no dog in this fight. A lot of people who are actually part of the community are totally okay with it. In fact, there's someone I follow by the name Cerberus XT who seems to be really popular in the community. They like to paint figurines, the little minis, and Grums even went after them, and their picture is actually, one of their artwork is actually the cover of a quartering thumbnail, so ugh. But then they're just talking about how this is not out of the norm, this is what happens in Warhammer. They just make shit up. And if we look at it just from a pure game standpoint, it's the same like D&D, right? Back on D&D, this is something I am familiar with. They released some new shit and they were talking about how the concept of evil races makes no sense. So they got rid of it. Along with a bunch of other stuff. They got rid of racial traits and all that stuff too. So you kind of just create your own character. And again, a subset of people were just upset that they're changing this. They shouldn't have done this. They're forcing us to do this. And it's no. They're just giving people more options. If you want to be the person at D&D who says, no, orcs are evil because they're evil. Drows are evil because that was the lore. And you don't have to adhere to it. But if you want to do that at your table and your players are okay with that, you can do that. If you want to play Warhammer and you at your table or with your in your battles, all the Custodes are dudes, okay. They could also be all women. That's another thing they're talking about too. The people who are like mad about, like, well, what do you need them to be women? You have the Sisters of Silence, and I'm just like, oh, so only like 1 or 2 groups can have women? Because there's also the Adeptus Sororitas, and they're also all women. And I'm like, okay, so 2 groups of women, then the rest of them are just dudes. Like, what does it matter? That's weird, right? Like, you're all wearing like power armor and all this shit too. It's like, who cares? Like, if Halo, you have female Spartans, what the fuck does it matter? They're all freaks. They're all genetic freaks. It doesn't matter. Like, what do you lose if there's now like women there? That doesn't take away from the fact that men are still there. I saw a tweet of a guy talking about like, he's like, oh, in the 10,000 years of history for Warhammer, we've never had a named female custode do anything. And a bunch of other people were like, there are so many unnamed custodes that like, it doesn't matter. It's like, also 10,000 over that time span isn't a lot. And there's literally thousands of unnamed ones. So like, and other people are talking about, well, why do they need to be there's already female Marines that are almost as good. It's like, yeah, almost as good. But again, why do they have to just be almost as good? Why do they have to be like the support guy? Why can't they also be the badass people? Why can't they also have cool golden armor? Like, why not? Who cares? Once you put the armor on, no one fucking knows what you are. You could even not be human. Like, there's so much going on there. I just find it hilarious that people like to be very particular with lore and anything when it goes against something that they hold sacred. And for these guys, it's like it is for them all the time. Anything to do with women or diversity is seen as an attack. Mind you, the Warhammer universe is fucking massive and insane. Like, it's insane the shit that happens in the Warhammer universe. But they're okay with all of that insanity. But oh my god, underneath that golden armor, there's potentially a woman. That's gonna ruin it for me, because I can't tell. They're all wearing golden armor. Which one's the women? Which one should I be sexist to? Which one should I be upset about? It's like, just don't be upset. Like, you don't have to do this. You can just play the game. People are, again, are trying to boycott. They want to return the things. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, if the hobby that you love so much for years and years and years is destroyed because now a fictional group in a fictional setting have included women, or the women have always been there, they just never mentioned it, what it doesn't do anything. It doesn't. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, but the lore. Again, the lore is inconsistent. It's contradictory. But that's how the lore works. It's inaccurate by design. It gives you freedom. Because at the end of the day, you guys, this is the game. And Games Workshop wants people to be playing their game. So being more inclusive is only going to be a net positive. But these people who gatekeep, who want to keep it just boys only, I'm like, you realize there were female players of Warhammer too, right? Like, so like, if they want to give them more, what's the big deal? That doesn't take anything away from you. That's what I can never understand. It's not a zero-sum game. Adding women or revealing that some of these, again, these golden troops that you can't see their fucking faces, some of them are women. You can take off their head and put a woman head on it and it's fine. Like, no one cares. Like, it doesn't take anything away from you. Just like getting rid of evil races in D&D takes away nothing from your creativity. In fact, it makes you more creative. It gives people more options now. Hey, you want to be part of, you want to be a custodian, you're a woman? Cool, you can do that now. You don't have to be a Sister of Silence. You don't just have to be Adeptus Sororitas. You can be one of these things too. Like, maybe, again, because I'm on the outside looking in, if someone wants to be nice, but more educational, and let me know, like, why this is, in fact, the worst thing to ever happen to Warhammer ever, let me know in the comment section. But it seems like with everything else, you have these opportunistic grifters who want to come in and say, you guys, they're changing your hobby. And they're changing your hobby, they can change anything else. Let's band together and let's stop them. But that's not happening. because like most people are just like, I can just still play the game, right? Like, right? Like that's, I feel like a normal take. It's just, this is weird to be upset about. Like, you could just honestly ignore it. Like, unless Game Workshops has like snipers, check out the window for snipers. Unless they have snipers set in every person's house who plays their game and says you have to play it this way, you can do whatever you want. So what's the big deal? Stop being weird every time shit's more inclusive. It takes away nothing from you. Like literally nothing from you. It only adds. And the more people who are getting interested in your hobby, that's only going to be better for your hobby. There's like never been a case when people who are actually interested in a hobby join it and make it worse. What happens though are people who either were on the periphery of said hobby or viewed certain hobbies as safe spaces for only men or only white people or only, tall people or only whatever. And then they feel like everything's an attack when things that they don't like shows up there. I've seen people talking about like keep politics out of Warhammer. My guy, it's called Warhammer. The politics are innate. Warhammer is itself an exaggeration of fascism. Like, are we doing this again? Are we doing this Helldivers again? Are we doing Starship Troopers again? Like, it is inherently political. It could be absurd. You can have fun in it, but to be like keep politics out is wrong because the politics are there. But what I really think people want to say is keep the politics I don't like out of my hobby. And that says more about them than anything else.